I recently made my first helmet wig, but here's the thing. I kind of realized that there's really not a lot of tutorials on how to make a helmet wig for smaller wigs, which is kind of honestly crazy. There's also not a lot of tutorials on how to go and do this yourself for making a mold of your head for any wig that you want to go and make. It's actually pretty easy. So what you're going to start off with is you're going to start off with one of these hair covers and hair nets. It has to be one of these ones that has the holes in it. If it's not, it's going to be really hard to see your hairline and you're just not going to get it as accurately. This is also so much easier if you do have someone with you, but the whole thing is at this moment, I didn't. So, I did this myself. I tucked my hair in here and I flattened it as much as I could. Then I took plastic wrap and wrapped it from right where my forehead was all the way to the back. I put down a couple of sheets and I made sure these sheets were as smooth as I possibly could get them. Again, it's easier if you do have someone to help you with this, but if you don't, it's fine. You can still get the same result. It's just not going to be as clean looking, but it's fine because it's going to work great for you. Now, after you have your head wrapped, which you should have this wrapped around your neck area in the back, along with also where your forehead is, covering your ears. And now we're going to trace around our hairline with a permanent marker. I'm doing this step before I put any sort of tape over it, which I've seen other people use duct tape and other things like that. But here's the thing, you can't really see underneath duct tape. So instead of using duct tape, I use clear tape in one of the next steps. For the back, I'm using this mirror. It's really helping me trace where my hairline is in the back and anywhere I can't see. Now I'm using this clear tape and I'm taping over all of the different areas that this is going to be covered. It's really important that you do this, so make sure you overlap the tape. Don't be afraid to use a decent amount of tape, and also take your time with this. Use your hands to feel where some of that plastic wrap still is. Make sure you go all the way to the back of where your neck is. As you can see here, I am pretty much using my hands to feel the areas that need to be filled in. Now, slowly slide it off of your head. It should come off pretty easily. It might pull a couple of hairs, but that's why you had the hairnet. Then just pop it up. And now we're going to take it and trim some of the additional bits of plastic here. I trimmed around where the ears were, and I made sure this fit on my head one more time before I decided I was going to stuff it and stick it down. Now, you don't have to go wild. You don't have to go completely and totally around the lines. I cut the ears just to make sure that this fit on my head properly and that it was a good mold. If you don't check, it might be a little bit off, so make sure you check after you've cut out the ear areas just to make sure it's going to fit your head properly. Now we're taking a foam mold. You can find these literally anywhere right now. You could also buy them off of Amazon, pretty much anywhere, or soon any spooky season store that's going to be popping up around you. Now we're going to take some plastic along with also some paper, and we're going to stuff it. Stuffing it, if you of course need to, my head is pretty small, so there's really not a lot of space in between the styrofoam here in comparison to my head. But after I stuffed it, I taped it down, and before I taped it, I measured where my hairline was to right about there on my nose, which was 3 inches. Then I was fine to tape it and start to work on my wig. Now, the wig that I ended up making was, you saw in the beginning, a Sukuna wig, so here's just a little bit of B-roll and also a couple of tips and examples of what you should be doing if you're making a wig like mine. So you want to give your wig a whole bunch of volume. Using crimping and cutting little sections is going to help you out so much. So you're going to have all of this hair off to the side that you'll be using to make wefts at a later date. But you are going to need a stiff base for this, so here's how you do that. For any wig that you're making, and you can see that I already have the mold here, which I taped down, then I was good to start using some of these UHU glue to really get everything stuck down in place. Cutting out where those ears were, which of course, again, that was very important that we made sure it fully and totally fit our heads before we did any of this. So now I have this perfect shape, I have this perfect mold, and this is going to fit my head perfectly once everything is assembled. Batting material, make sure you have some of it. I use this plastic-like material which works with a heat gun. So after I glued it down with hot glue and used a heat gun, then it got nice and stiff. And if you're making wigs that are on the larger side, Having that harder base is so necessary so it won't go and fall off of your head or peel or anything of that sort. You need that nice, heavy duty base for things to stick to. Now I'm just making some wefts. Wefts are these little individual pieces that on the larger side, at least these ones are, you take them, you glue it onto your base, you cut it typically across unless you're going to be making something like a piece that's going to look more like a hairline. So you shape it and you glue it into place on your base. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just giving a light paint to my base. This is something you really should be doing. If it doesn't have any color underneath, some of this color is going to show through if you don't have enough hair. So painting it lightly or painting it very heavily, depending on what character you're doing, is so important. It's just going to mask any areas that the under base here kind of just shows through. I had a lot of hair that I was able to layer, so I didn't really have to fully and totally worry, but I didn't want to have anything show through. Now I'm steaming it. Steaming it is going to get that back end nice and flat, make it look very realistic, which I love how this turned out in the end. And it just flattens everything, keeps it all down. And it's so important to do that, especially if you're going to be making wigs that are along the lines of this. So they need to be flat, they need to look like an actual hairline. Then I glued down the next layer after I completed the first layer, and I was using pink for the next one. So I had these thinner wefts that I stuck down, started to layer some of the other ones on, and continued with putting down more of the wig hair. Again, I steamed this layer. So as you go in these steps, you'll kind of figure out what you need to do. So steaming, cutting, stuff like that, going layer by layer. It makes it so much easier if you do it like this rather than assemble the entire thing and then have to go back. Some layers, it just gets really difficult if you don't. Now, I'm still not a professional with going and cutting or anything of that sort for the actual wig. So I'm just trying to create some triangles here, spray it in place with some got-to-be hairspray, and really honestly hoped for the best. The steamer massively came into clutch when I curled everything and I finished off the front. So any of those little imperfections that I had before, because again, this was my first helmet wig, the steamer helped to just get those little hairs up, and it made this wig look so cool. Thank you all so much for watching. Go have fun. I'm going to be posting a longer video as to how I made this helmet wig once I have everything edited. So if you're a fan of JJK, make sure to give this video a like. Check out my other videos. I have more cosplay tutorials along with also makeup tutorials on my profile. See y'all later. Okay, bye!